Market research has been a standard strategy used by large corporations and businesses for decades. From complex studies to simply querying their larger customer base for answers, these methods gave businesses an obvious way to refine and hone their marketing strategy. This is MNC Business Channel and you're on Economic Buzz. To get the most benefit from market research as the business people, we must first understand what the process entails. And its most basic level, market research is simply collecting and analyzing new and existing data to help with various aspects of marketing. Popular focuses for market research include trend analysis, competition research, customer satisfaction, target market understanding, and marketing effectiveness. Using the proper market research methods for the information that we hope to gain in our business is an essential part of the research process. Some sources of information might be better suited for professional industries, while others offer unbeatable access to customer opinions and other information. The key to finding the right sources is to create a detailed market research plan. By creating a thorough market research strategy, our business can reduce the overall cost of market research while helping to improve the results of our efforts. This also helps to focus our research efforts to streamline the process and make it easier to track and manage. It is advised the first thing we should consider before starting market research is what we hope to gain from our research. By setting goals, we can help to eliminate possible sources of information before we even start the process. The next thing many small businesses should consider is the overall research budget. It is believed if we spend all of our available funds on market research, our actual marketing efforts may suffer. These two considerations should help to sort through the sea of available options for conducting the ideal market research. In recent years, the internet and other technologies have also helped to make the market research strategy much easier to source information and interact with customers and clients. This has opened up market research to small businesses as both an affordable and effective tool for producing results. In the business environment, market research has been a standard strategy used by large corporations and businesses, from complex studies to simple querying their larger customer base for answers. These methods give businesses an obvious way to refine and hone their marketing strategies. MNC Business Report for Economic Buzz. And to have a deeper view and further discussion about strategic market research for business success, we have Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. He's the Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much.
Good evening, Elmo.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for allowing me in your show today.
All the way from Malaysia back to Jakarta and come to this studio.
It's my pleasure to be here.
Strategic market research for business success.
Yes.
Of course, when we talk about how to make our business running smoothly, we must understand very well about who are we targeting,
right,
what kind of product are we selling the most, and what suit with the market. And in this case, we talk about the market research. From the introductory remarks, it turns out that market research is more than or beyond than just data analysis and data collecting. What is actually market research by definition, on your perspective, sir?
Okay. In our terms, when we speak about market research, it's actually, we add in one more what's in between actually. We call it market environment research, or in the short names it's called MER actually. Why there's a words of environment in between is because business are changing. In the past, traditionally, you look at market research, it's just looking at the consumer side actually. What is the consumer spending and behaviors actually. But that has evolved. The words environments come from business environment, business ecosystem actually. So you're not just looking at the consumer sides, but you're also looking at the market as a whole the holistic way actually. You're looking at the competitions, you're looking at the pricings, you're looking at the market potentials. So it's a wider spectrums of looking at the market environment, market industries actually, not just the consumer. That is what is the terms of market research now to many companies as well in Indonesia as well as in any part of the world.
What are the major difference between market research and market analysis or market strategy? Because people always associate this with the marketing activity, and later on they always see this as the biggest responsibilities from the marketing department.
Correct. I think in marketing usually you understand that to successfully penetrate a market or to launch your product successfully, you don't just look at what is consumer needs actually. You need to factor in the other factors as well. You need to look at is your product is able to compete with the other products that's already in the market actually. So in that context, you're looking at what is the competitors are doing and products being launched in the market actually. Another factors that marketers usually look at is also the pricing strategy. Pricing is also important, not just understanding what is customer demand for pricing, but it's also to understand is the price is very elastic market actually. Is the price is under heavy competitions actually. If it is, for example, in certain industry in Indonesia, telecommunication, you can see that if you're using your gadgets, the prices for your mobile phone calls today and maybe a year ago actually has been revising the pricings up and down heavily actually. So that's the pricing factors is also important to be considered, and there's also many other factors that you need to look at actually. The market potentials, market size is also it's a justification whether I should go into the market or I should actually avoid the market because the market is just too small and there's too many competitions in the market actually. So those are the things that we covers more broadly in the market research studies now. Actually.
Very good start, Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. Thank you so much. We still have another segment to discuss about this more, sir. Make sure you are still with us on Economic Buzz. We are discussing about strategic market research for business success.
Stay tuned for more business insights on MNC Business.
One East, luxury living in Surabaya.
Approaching the lowest level since the global crisis, so it is the warning for us.
Revenues International, Monday to Friday at 10:30 a.m. on MNC Business. Special promo financial report on MNC Business, starting from your company logo and tagline to revenue growth chart. Also, net profit growth chart. Continued by brief yet comprehensive video profile. Closed with your company logo and tagline or jingle. For advertisement order, please call.
Kalau seandainya memang IHSG ini biar bagaimanapun juga akan ditahan.
Healing Room, Monday to Friday at 2 p.m. on MNC Business.
Semangat wirausahanya sudah berkurang. Anda tidak sependapat ya Pak ya kalau melihat data pelaku.
We would like to greet you people in Singapore. You're on Economic Buzz, the English talk show program that outlook the economic issue for your business. This program also aired to MNC International. We're still talking about strategic market research for business success. We still have Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. We should talk more about what is actually Spire Research Consulting in Indonesia later on, sir. I believe many business viewers, they're already fully aware of the function or what do you call the benefit of using the services from the market research consultant like you. Earlier, I asked you about what is by definition market research.
That's
and then during your explanation you also mentioned about understanding the given market environment so we can grab several opportunities there, understanding our positioning on that level.
Correct.
Indonesia, within Indonesia context, what can be noted or what can be seen from our current market environment?
Okay. Typically, companies will use a market research for two reasons, actually. First is for the market entry, and the second is for the market growth, actually. So market entries, in the case of, for example, foreign company is entering Indonesian market. Indonesia is one of the emerging markets, and it attracts a lot of foreign investment coming into Indonesia. Now, before the decision is being made, for example, a client in the automotive sectors that would like to open a direct car manufacturing in Indonesia, that is the case of market entries. Prior to this, perhaps Japanese car makers, American car makers are producing the car in other markets, actually, in Thailand or back to all the way to the US, actually. Now they are considering, should I open a factory in Indonesia? So that's the case of clients doing a market entry into Indonesia, actually. That decision has to be backed with a lot of a market research program, understanding what is the demand of car actually, and what is the benefits for me to open a factory in Indonesia as compared to importing it directly from US actually, or from Japan, or even from Korea actually. So that's the case of market entries.
Market entry.
Now another second case is actually when it's a market growth. Indonesia's company, now we look at the other angle. There's a lot of big Indonesian companies that's already very successful in Indonesia itself actually. Now it's time for them to grow the business and not just relying on Indonesia markets, but there's a lot of benefits from the neighboring countries in Southeast Asia actually. Whether it's Malaysia, whether it's China, or whether it's Thailand actually. That is the case where Indonesian company would like to grow the business and looking at export potentials in the neighboring countries, and is there any demand for their products in other countries, whether it's a halal products, whether it's halal cosmetic, is that products is actually required in other country. That is the instance of Indonesian company looking for growth outside Indonesia, Erwin.
That comes from the market growth. Well, when I ask you, Indonesia as part of the emerging market, how sensitive, or in quote-unquote, in much more extreme word, how vulnerable are we actually toward this kind of global exposure? Because I believe your market research also assist and help a lot to our foreign investors who are interested in knowing more about Indonesia when it comes about business and market environment. Are we really that sensitive or vulnerable toward the global exposure, as many analysts said? What is it in your perspective, sir?
Actually, it's in the contrary. Indonesia is now the hottest market globally, actually.
Really?
Emerging markets is the focus of many companies globally. And in the terms of emerging markets, there's two terms that are commonly used by a lot of companies, actually. First is BRIC, BRICS, that stand from countries like Brazil, Russia, India, Indonesia, and China. So these are the 5 emerging markets that is actually growing and is foreseen to be one of the top 10 economies in the world, actually. Now the next terms after BRICS is CIVET, CIVETS, actually, which is Colombia, and I is Indonesia again, appears there. V is Vietnam, as many companies are looking to Vietnam too, and there's also Egypt, and also South Africa, and T is for Turkey, actually.
Even apart from its turmoil, Egypt has also been classified as one of the promising and potential markets.
Correct. Yes, they have a little bit of problems at the moment, but it's still seen as the future emerging markets that a lot of companies will eye to enter the markets and also seize the opportunity from the emerging markets. So in both cases, Indonesia appears on both terms, and that's significant. Signifies actually how important Indonesia is in the emerging markets group, actually.
Based on your experience, how tough or how challenging actually when we talk about doing the market research for a developing country like Indonesia?
Correct. That's the beauty of Indonesia too. Not just Bali, but it's also part of emerging markets. When you're doing a research in emerging markets, actually that poses a different challenge, actually. Let's give a small example. When you're in US, you're looking for market information, market research. You can just go to the online, find the information about certain industry and markets, and boom, the information is there already available in the market, actually. Now, in countries like emerging markets, when you're doing research, that's poses a different challenge, actually. Because first, when you open an online website, actually, information's in the local language. A lot of information are very fragmented. You're not sure whether this is correct or no. And maybe you just type a small words. What is the market size of a mineral water, for example, in Indonesia? I'm sure you can't find the answers from just a website actually in Indonesia. So in emerging markets, you need more different sources, which is to get the information, to understand the market, which is basically coming from a primary research actually.
And it requires you to be on the field really, because sometimes we cannot depend too much on what we can see on the computer, let's say on the page that they are providing this and that data. Given the situation that the data analysis and the data collecting could be that challenging within Indonesia context, what's behind this kind of obstacle actually, Mr. Jeffrey? You say that the source of the information could be very fragmented. Has it something to do that we cannot expect a good transparency in terms of the data providing in this country? What do you think, sir?
That's true, Erwin. So market transparency in emerging markets is challenging. A lot of information, just take for example regulation from the government actually. That itself is actually very challenging for a foreign investor to understand the regulation in Indonesia actually. You need an expertise to understand what it means in the regulations. And if you look at the competitions in the market actually, the markets, most cases in any industry is very fragmented actually. Fragmented means there's a lot of players. Sometimes it's not very obvious who's number one, who has the largest market share, who's number two, and one of the trees actually.
If you don't mind, sir, maybe we can hold here. We're going to continue after these breaks.
All right.
More on the discussion about strategic market research for business success will be brought to you soon. Stay with us on Economic Buzz.
Stay tuned for more business insights on MNC Business.
Indonesia, negara yang besar dan kompleks, jumlah pulau, suku, dan bahasa terbanyak di dunia. Jumlah penduduk keempat terbesar di dunia. Ditambah lagi dengan masalah yang terus menumpuk. Korupsi, penyangan sosial, penegakan hukum, pendidikan, pengelolaan sumber daya alam, dan masih banyak lagi. Indonesia perlu perubahan, memerlukan pemimpin yang bersih, peduli, tegas, mengabdi kepada bangsa, memiliki kemampuan membenahi masalah untuk menjadikan NKRI lebih bersatu, berdaulat, adil dan makmur berdasarkan Pancasila.
Pasangan bersih, peduli, tegas.
Let us bring you our full week summary about the economic issues. So don't miss the summary every Saturday at 7 p.m. on MNC Business. As the morning sun shows its magnificent smile, greeting you as you start your day. Days packed with full of hustle and bustle, along with the development of the stock exchange index. With integrity and accurate news sources, we present the first and the most comprehensive business channel. It is our calling to enhance the infrastructure and economic well-being of this country. You will be the first to know about the government's market policies. Because we are the best business guide for you. At NC Business, put you first, do you best. The first business channel in Indonesia.
Bersepeda merupakan salah satu jenis olahraga yang menarik dan dapat dilakukan oleh siapa saja. Bersepeda banyak manfaatnya loh. Dengan bersepeda, kamu bisa membakar kurang lebih 300 kalori. Bersepeda juga baik untuk jantung, otot, dan peredaran darah. Bersepeda juga dapat memperpanjang umur loh. Tunggu apa lagi? Yuk kita bersepeda.
Stay tuned for more business insights on MNC Business.
Back on Economic Buzz, this program can also be seen through StarHub Asia Channel 121 Singapore. We are airing through MNC International. With me, Erwin Suryabata, we still have Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. It has happened that Spire Research and Consulting also in Singapore and also to Malaysia. Still, I'm still curious about this, Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. I've been wondering the unique characters of Indonesian market environment as well as a business environment as well. That's why you are so interested in doing the market research in this country. Are we really that different characteristically compared to our neighboring countries in ASEAN?
Right. I'll give examples when we compare maybe Indonesia and Australia actually. Now in Indonesia, when you're doing a research to the consumer actually, asking what products do you buy, where do you buy the products, most of the times the research is still done on face-to-face basis actually. Means you, Erwin, you meet and me and ask what product do you use actually, Erwin. But if you compare in other countries like in Japan or Australia, the means to conduct a market research to consumer is totally different actually. As you maybe perhaps are familiar, the use of online survey, the use of call center to ask you a simple 5 minutes thing actually. Those are more popular in countries like Australia and Japan actually. Whereas in Indonesia, you receive an online survey perhaps, maybe you don't respond to that. Or some people that in a smaller cities perhaps may not even have an email account actually. So how do you conduct a online survey in Indonesia? That would be the differences.
Internet literacy. Actually, there are, what do you call this, so literate toward this kind of technology, but not everyone got the access right. In conclusion, Mr. Bahar, generally, how do you see the practice then of the market research commonly conducted by Indonesian corporates? Is it still actually that relevant to do this kind of interpersonal research? I really talk with you in person so I can get much more trusted answers. We earlier haven't proceeded talking about this kind of issue when we want to expect a trusted market research.
Correct. Understanding Asia and Indonesia specifically, that will allow you to advise your clients, someone who needs a market research companies, on what is the best methodologies to obtain the market knowledge actually. So we start usually asking what is the business objective. And I think it's very important to design the right methodologies to do the research actually, whether it's face-to-face or you collect some information from the players, the market players who understand the markets better. That has to be factored in Indonesia. So for example, looking at the market size potentials of a car manufacturing entering Indonesia using the same case study that I mentioned earlier, we need to speak with the current car manufacturers in Indonesia actually to understand what is the challenges opening up a factory in Indonesia. Is it labor laws actually? Is this sourcing the materials that is very difficult in Indonesia as compared to Thailand or Malaysia? That can be only obtained when you speak to another players that's already in the market in Indonesia actually. You can't find those information from online. And a lot of information are very fragmented actually. So that's typically how it's being carried out in Indonesia.
Technology adoption, technology presence, you just mentioned about the online world, not to mention also social media. Has it really impacted or changed dramatically when we talk about moving from the conventional way of doing the market research into the most advanced one, which is helped by technology called social media or whatsoever in the computer and the word of E.
Correct. Yes, correct. Technology has changed the way of people behaviors. We speak earlier about how customer behavior changing actually. And of course, technology is one of the easiest way when you drive the changes in the people. Now with the adoptions of new gadget technologies are still are getting into our life of Indonesian people, that gradually is changing the behavior of people actually in terms of let's use example, Erwin, when you go shopping, buying for gadgets, in the past we have to go to the IT retailers market like Ambassador, Glodox to look for those products actually.
Physically, right?
Physically inspecting the products, right? But that actually has changed the marketplace actually. Now people do a comparison through online and sometimes even make a purchase through a e-commerce site actually. And that is the real example, the customer shopping behavior change with the technologies, with the access to the information and with the gadgets they have on their hands actually.
I want to know more about the trustworthy issue in the market research. What have been done so far, at least let's say by Spire Research and Consulting, in ensuring your client that all of the data or the market research result that you are providing to them can be trusted. It's like, let's say, what do you call this, predictably and eligible as well to be used as the reference. Credibility you are talking about.
Correct. Erwin, you bring up very good points. I think that's very important. Credibility, accuracy of the findings, the knowledge of the market is one of the top most important factors actually. Typically, you need to look at the information from various sources actually. So it's very dangerous if you just rely on speaking to one player or two and then conclude the market based on that actually.
Generalize it. It's
correct.
A good idea.
That's very dangerous. So one of the techniques that a lot of market research companies are doing when they're doing a research in emerging markets like Indonesia, it's the need to rely on multiple source data validations. You may obtain information from the Association of Car Manufacturing. You may obtain the information from the Trade Statistic Government, Ministry of Trades, Customs. But you also need to verify information from other various sources and make sure that all those information tally and link and make sense actually. And by doing that, you'll improve the accuracy of your market knowledge, and that's the way to do in Indonesia.
Talking about the market research strategy or method being used here in Indonesia business environment, where are we? Are we already reaching that maturity level, or we are still in the initial stage of finding the best, ideal and proper market research which suit with Indonesian business environment?
Correct. In any business, there's always a business cycles, up and downs actually. Let's take example in telecommunications or banking actually. Maybe it's gone already, the era of people downloading music download songs nowadays actually. That's the end of the cycle for music download perhaps actually. But the new cycle is coming in now actually, with a lot of Androids, phones, gadgets coming in. Now is the new cycle of data. The use of data is increasing, and even within the same industry of telecommunications, players, operators are actually gaining. With the end of cycle of one products, there will be always emerging of new products cycle actually. So not to worry on that. There's always be a circle coming back to the loops again.
That makes it also becoming over dynamic, super dynamic in a way. Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, we still have another second half to talk about this more. And make sure you are still with us on Economic Buzz. We are going to talk and discuss more about strategic market research with Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia.
Import, kemudian hutang dalam dolar ini akan terbebani sangat berat.
We put you first for economy updates.
Nilai tukar rupiah yang cukup signifikan.
Revenues, Monday to Friday at 4 p.m. on MNC Business. Here, you could find the best way to stay healthy in your executive lifestyle. To always keep you in shape. Body in shape. On MNC Business. Karya Bali diburu kolektor fashion dunia. Keindahan karya seni para pengrajin Pulau Dewata pastinya sudah tidak diragukan lagi. Salah satunya adalah kain grinsing. Kain tenun ikat ganda yang sangat unik, motif dan warnanya. Kain grinsing adalah satu-satunya tenun ikat ganda yang dibuat di Indonesia. Kain yang dipergunakan untuk berbagai upacara keagamaan ini melambangkan kesucian dan dipercaya dapat menolak bala. Harga sehelai kain tersebut berkisar antara 500.000 hingga 20 juta rupiah. Proses pembuatan sehelai kain ikat ganda bisa memakan waktu antara 5 sampai 10 tahun. Kualitas kain yang dibuat dengan tangan itu jelas sangat terlihat. Kain ini sangat diburu para kolektor dunia, namun sayangnya kurang dikenal masyarakat tanah air. They are rock stars in entertainment world, great achievers, and true leaders.
Kim Kardashian terkenal akan bentuk tubuh yang berlekuk, rambut panjang dan paras yang cantik.
Be inspired by their success story.
Berikut rahasia tubuh indah oleh Kim Kardashian. Pertama, olahraga favorit.
On Inspiration, Saturday and Sunday at 1:30 p.m. on MNC Business.
import, kemudian hutang dalam dolar ini akan terbebani sangat berat.
You are still with us on Economic Buzz. We still bring our discussion about strategic market research for business success. This program also been dedicated to Singaporean business viewer through MNC International. Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, the Deputy CEO of Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. Let's talk about Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia, because you are also in Singapore, Japan, Korea, even in the United States of America. Tell us the one in Indonesia.
Okay. In Indonesia, we started business about 10 years ago. We see opportunities. The needs for market research is actually increasing, and that's the reasons why we entered the market in Indonesia, Now, entering Indonesia 10 years ago, it's actually a right time. As you can see, in the last 5 years, economic has been booming so well. We have a lot of investors coming into Indonesia, and you can see a lot of companies within Indonesia also expanding the business, So by being in the markets in Indonesia directly, we can provide the value directly to Indonesian companies, as well as investors coming into Indonesia.
So you find it the best timing actually for Spire Research Consulting coming to Indonesia as well. Ever since 10 years when it first established, what achievement has been made by Spire Research and Consulting? How do you want the Indonesian people, Indonesian market in general, in knowing about Spire Research? What do you want them to have in mind when we talk about Spire Research and Consulting?
Okay. We're not just here to generate a profits or a business value for our shareholders, The most important is we do have impacts towards the economic growth in Indonesia and various sectors of industry in Indonesia. We play a big part of contributions towards the contribution in the banking, financial and banking sectors in Indonesia. For example, there's a few areas that we see that there's a potential, and we help our clients, the local big banks in Indonesia, to enter a new product For example, you notice the launch of a prepaid contactless card towards e-money we do have a part to play in that role to one of the local bank in Indonesia. We understand there's a demand for this future, and now we can see that, for example, e-money is being used a lot the next area that we see that should be growing, and there's opportunities for Indonesian companies or foreign companies in Indonesia, is the rising of the e-commerce market similar context, we can see that banks in Indonesia start providing a mechanism for the payment It will not be a true e-commerce if you can shops online. When it comes to payment, you still need to go to the ATM or to the branch to make the payment.
We talk about the simplicity and the practicality here, right?
Correct. That's because of the current players, financial institution in Indonesia, banks are not providing the mechanism for easy payment But that is in the past already. Now people can easily shop online. Payments can be made through mobile banking, internet banking, and that is the beauty of the whole thing Not just generating values for shareholders, but also to evolve the industry to a better state for Indonesian.
After about 4 segments in this talk show, you seem to be very optimistic and positive person when it comes about Indonesian economic growth. On your market research, can we also expect you or Spire Research and Consulting to, in quote-unquote, read about Indonesian economic outlook? Many are a bit skeptical that we are benefiting temporarily for what's been happening on the global scale, the sluggish global economic recovery. That's why Indonesia becoming, what do you call this, a temporary investment destination. What is your opinion on this, sir?
Okay. Yes, rupiah has been adjusted a little bit to the US dollar in the last 2 months In fact, rupiah and India rupees are one of the worst performing currencies in the last 2 months But nonetheless, the growth of Indonesia's economy is still very strong, about 5%. Yes, there's a small adjustments made by the central banks and many of the world banks about the growth projection of Indonesia. Now, the key is to find the hidden gems in Indonesia. We still believe that there's a lot of hidden gems in Indonesia. So it's very important to spot what industry will still very robust despite the currency inflation adjustments but the industry is still doing well actually. We can see there's a few industry doing that. Oil and gas definitely is still in hot industries. I have mentioned earlier in the e-commerce, that's also a very strong industry. Building materials are also still thriving very well. We can see a lot of constructions coming back to Indonesia, building new residential towns in Indonesia. There are still many hidden gems that investors, businessmen can tap in Indonesia, no matter what happens to the macro levels economic.
Speaking about this kind of unexplored, hidden potential,
That's
untapped market as well, I've been wondering, is Spire Research and Consulting, they only focus on the major cities, let's say Jakarta, Bandung, and other big cities in Indonesia? Because you also just mentioned we have many untapped market within this Indonesia country.
Correct. Yes, many of the industry just look on the major city of Indonesia, like Jakarta, Surabaya, Medan, and Bandung actually. But there's also some sectors that actually focusing on the rural area actually, because those are the untapped opportunities actually. People are focusing competitions in the big cities like in Jakarta, but if you go to a smaller cities, actually the competition is less actually, because people are not focusing on that actually. So some companies, some business actually focus on the rural area and make that as the main markets to target actually. Microfinancings, SMEs are thriving in the rural area, not in Jakarta. And so when we're doing our research, and many companies are doing research not just in Jakarta, but also looking at Indonesia as the whole nation actually.
2013, based on your latest finding also when you do the market research for your client, how do you see the ease of doing business in general? Business viewers so curious about this. Are we really that conducive when we talk about the ease of doing business? Market research also can help in terms of assisting them in knowing the real situation.
Very interesting point, Arvind. We are actually currently doing a benchmarking across 10 countries in the world actually, and Indonesia is one of them. And one of the topics being measured is the ease of doing business. This is something to do with the investment choice locations. Let's say a US company would like to open an IT company in Asia. Should they choose India, China, Philippines, or Indonesia or Malaysia actually? Not just in terms of the IT graduates that each country can produce, but also like Erwin has mentioned, the ease of doing business. Now, ease of doing business in Indonesia is not one of the top among the different countries. Yes, there are some bureaucracy.
Sorry, top in a positive way, I believe.
Not in the top 5 or top 10 actually. Correct. Usually it's in the middle and towards the bottom actually. So there's still some difficulty in doing business.
I see.
But we can see it's actually improving and it's getting better and better. But despite of that, the other factors, the opportunity is still very strong, and that still attracts people to come into Indonesia.
All right, another positivity shared by you, Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. We still have another 2 segments to discuss more about Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. Economic Buzz will be back soon with more of you from Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. He's the Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia.
Stay tuned for more business insights on MNC Business.
Dalam impor, kemudian hutang dalam dolar ini akan terbebani sangat berat.
Stock Shot, Monday to Friday, every 10 a.m. on MNC Business.
Ini untuk mengundang investor.
53 juta UMK bergerak setiap hari, luar biasa.
Biz Brief, every Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. only on MNC Business. Here, you could find the best way to stay healthy in your executive lifestyle. Food recommendation. workout tips, and more to always keep you in shape. Body in Shape. Saturday, 10:30 p.m. on MNC Business.
Selamat sore pemirsa, apa kabar bisnis Anda hari ini? Kita berjumpa kembali dalam eView, program
We would like to greet you people in Singapore. You're reaching Economic Buzz with Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. He's the Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia to share his view of the topic that we bring up in this talk show. So I can say that Spire Research and Consulting as the market research consultant, right? Related to your area of working, what is actually a market research consultant?
All right. The terms market research and consulting actually goes hand in hand in tandems actually. Usually we'll start with understanding the market by conducting market research, and with that you have the knowledge to decide actually. That's our tagline actually. Once you understand the market, the consulting comes in actually to advise the clients, to advise the companies, what should I do? Once I have the knowledge about the market, what is my next step I need to do actually to successfully enter the market. So these two terms, market research and consulting, always go hand in hand in tandems. And at the end of the study, understanding the market, there has to be advice, consulting, so what needs to be done.
I believe beside Spire Research and Consulting, there are another presence of the similar company or consultancy firm on the same working area. Could you give us your general overview of the growth of market research consultant like yours in Indonesia? We'll talk about the firms.
Okay. The needs for market research and consulting is growing in the last 10 years actually. In the past, people only look at consumer sites, but now they are looking at market advice actually, consultants actually, the consulting piece actually. And the cost of doing a wrong business decisions, a wrong investment is growing higher and higher too actually.
Right.
And because of that, every business decision that has a big financial impact to a companies need to be evaluated carefully, and marketing plan and strategies need to be executed well in even the first attempt actually. Those days that actually learn from your failure and then try again maybe has gone actually, because the competition is so high. If you keep making mistakes on your marketing plan and strategies, your competitors are already 3 or 4 steps ahead of you and you're behind. And because of that, a lot of companies are investing to spend a little bit of money to understand the markets better and seeking a consulting service on what is the right strategy to enter the market.
How tough can it be when we talk about the competition climate? When we talk about this kind of market research consultancy firm in Indonesia.
Correct. The market research industries, there are a lot of players in the market. The difference is whether you're offering a basic commodity service. A basic commodity service is just surveying the consumer actually, understanding what is the consumer behaviors actually. But if you're offering a very niche service, understanding the markets better, looking at more holistic the environment, that is actually a unique positioning, a unique service offering actually. Erwin, for example, when you're buying your clothing, would you like to go to a department store, just pick any clothing from the rack shelf of display, or would you rather to go to a custom tailor to make it very fits, suits your body well, and you feel comfortable when you walk on the street actually? That's the same analogies when we're advising clients on market research actually. A lot of works you need a customized market research, understanding I need to understand this market, and that is a unique positioning that we Spire Research are offering that actually.
Okay, Spire Research, if I may ask you one more time, what specific services are commonly offered by Spire Research and Consulting in Indonesia, given the dynamic expectation also from Indonesian market and business players?
We can offer various different types of looking at the market. I mentioned earlier looking at the market size, market potentials, segmentations. We also help our clients to find their business partners, what is call it as business partner search actually. An investor coming into Indonesia, they are looking for a distributor to distribute the products. That's the service offering we're offering as well. Now in Indonesia, the value chain distribution is also very complex. Before your product reach your end users, the buyers, the final store that is selling your products, it goes through many hands, distributor, wholesaler, agent, and so on actually. And finding the right distribution strategy, what we call it the value chain analysis, is also crucial in making sure your product is competitive.
All right, Mr. Bahar, if you don't mind, we still have one more segment,
Sure.
a short one, to talk more about Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. Make sure you are still with us. We still have one more segment on IBAS talking about strategic market research for business success.
Stay tuned for more business insights on MNC Business.
Selamat sore pemirsa, apa kabar bisnis Anda hari ini?
Talk show focuses on business policies, pros and cons.
Adakah solusi sebenarnya untuk bisa membuat ini jangan sampai
Presenting policymakers, government officials, and experts.
Ada semacam skema otomatis ya ketika ada beberapa indikator, misalnya tingkat pengangguran.
Enjoy the new look of eView, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Only on MNC Business.
Di bulan ini, bersiaplah untuk menikmati berbagai sajian istimewa kami dalam Spectacular October. Sajian istimewa dari arena olahraga, Liga Spanyol, Manchester United Legend versus Jakarta All-Star, ATP 1000 Shanghai Rolex Masters, ekspedisi alam Indonesia, dan berbagai kekayaan kuliner, ethnic food, smart travel, long weekend, referensi fashion paling fresh untuk semua fashionista, state of style, sajian film terbaik untuk keluarga Anda, rumah tanpa jendela, one-stop entertainment in this spectacular October with
peluang lebih pada perekonomian.
Kementerian Perdagangan juga sedang berupaya untuk menurunkan harga daging sapi.
Power Breakfast, every Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. on MNC Business.
We have reached our last segment talking about strategic market research for business success, and we're going to have another view from Mr. Jeffrey Bahar. He's the Deputy CEO at Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. To conclude his view toward our topic, to sum up, should a market research activity, Mr. Bahar, been integrated, let's say, as the inter-department task within a corporate? Who responsible the most actually in conducting this kind of market research when we talk about the corporate level internally, before we talk about involving the market research consultancy firm like yours?
Yeah, correct. The user of market research actually can be on a wide range actually. It can be from marketing and sales to understand what is the market size and potential. You also can go to the corporate strategies division actually, that is making the corporate plannings or the direction. Should I enter new products to have a grow in my business actually? And even it can go to the HR department or the corporate social responsibility department. We have our clients from HR doing benchmarking. For example, I keep losing my very good sales teams because my competitors are actually offering a better package actually. And without a good sales team, the HR actually starts scratching the head actually. How can I grow my company if all the good salesmen go to my competitors actually? In that instance, the HR department need our services to do a benchmarking if the offerings that I'm making in my companies is competitive enough to match with what others competitors are offering actually. In that instance, the users is coming to the HR departments. And the last unique case is coming from the corporate social responsibility. CSR is actually a big program in many companies now. Now, this division will need is I'm making the right programs to the communities, to the society. What is the impacts of my programs towards the community in view opinions of various different stakeholders actually. So we do those studies to understand the stakeholder point of view for the user, which is the CSR department of our organization. So it could be anyone's that use our market research companies are in.
As it suggested that Indonesian business environment on the corporate level, they use the services provided by the market research consultancy firm, because sometimes we can expect the independency on this. They're becoming much more neutral compared if we do it internally. What do you think?
Correct.
Well,
yes.
Apart from the promotion of the Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia actually.
Correct. That is actually our professional code of ethics actually. We're very independent in giving the picture of the market actually. We will not be biased towards the client's benefits or objective. What we provide is a very independent third-party view. And that is what is the credibilities of people using our service or market research actually.
That is the value that you are really on Spire Research and Consulting, and I believe they already displayed the access to information if they want to know about Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia. Maybe you can share again about the page that they can get the information.
Right. Yes, you can visit our websites at www.spireresearch.com, and there's a lot of information about what market research is about actually.
Okay, what market research is about. And my next major question is like, how would you describe representing Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia a successful market research in an organization or corporate level, so they can have this kind of a standard role?
Yeah. Over the last 10 years, we continue to educate the companies in Indonesia that market research is not just purely looking at consumers. So the education's part of educating what is a market research continues to build up, and that will generate a lot of value for our customers. Word of mouth is actually important as well.
Very effective, yeah.
Correct. And brandings, and we always position ourselves as a thought leaders. Topics that we understand is a hot topics in the market, in industries, and provokes a new thinking, looking at the different angles. That's how usually we position ourselves.
All right. Mr. Jeffrey Bahar, Deputy CEO of Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia, thank you so much. Really appreciate for your insightful sharing with us. Best luck for Spire Research and Consulting Indonesia.
Thank you for having me in the programs. Thank you.
And that's wrap up our talk show for this time. Hope to have you soon in the next Economic Buzz with other issues to bring up in the discussion. I'm Erwin Surya Brata, wishing you a best luck in doing your business today. Let's talk about your business in eBuzz only on MNC Business, the first business channel in Indonesia.